Welcome to another edition of Disability in You. I'm Ganesh Singh. On this edition, I'll be discussing blind cricket. Yes, blind cricket. I'm sure there are a lot of you out there that is not aware of what the sport is. So before I get into the discussion with my guests, I'll briefly explain what is blind cricket. So blind cricket is a team sport that is played by persons who are blind or visually impaired, meaning those persons who have no sight can play, and also those who are considered low vision, meaning they have some level of vision, they're allowed to play. The sport is played over two formats. You have the 40 overs format and the T20 format. It is played with a ball that is the size of a conventional cricket ball, and it's hollow inside, it's white, and it has about 8 or 9 small beads or iron beads. So when it rolls, it makes noise, and the bowlers, they bowl underhand. So that is what blind cricket is all about. It's an international sport. Currently, India is the reigning T20 champions, and also it's very, very big in India, and in Pakistan is the same. It's played in all test playing countries, so it's very popular on the international scale. In the West Indies, we have been playing blind cricket since 2006, and the same we can say for Guyana. We started to play in 2006 also. So with me to discuss blind cricket and what are the plans of the organization here in Guyana is Leroy Phillips and Asif Khan, and they're both directors of the Guyana Blind Cricket Association. Welcome, gentlemen, to Disability in You.
Thanks for having us, Ganesh. It's always a pleasure.
All right. I know that the most immediate activity that you guys have is the regional blind cricket tournament that will be played in Barbados in a couple of weeks. So tell us about that. When is the tournament and what the tournament is all about, Leroy? And then I'll see if you can also jump in whenever you feel it.
Yeah, thanks, Ganesh. Right. And I like the information you give to raise the awareness of what the sport is like, how it is played for our viewing and listening audience. So on the 21st of May, that's in just about 2 weeks' time, the Guyana Blind Cricket team alongside Trinidad, Barbados, and Jamaica will be converging on the island of Barbados to compete in yet another regional tournament. And the regional tournaments really rile us up. We're excited to participate in yet another regional tournament, and it stretches from the 21st to the 28th. And
that's of May, 21st to 28th of May.
That's correct, the 21st and 20 up to 28th of May. We're just about 2 weeks away, and Guyana is one of the teams participating, and we are really looking forward to a successful trip, a successful tournament, and playing across two formats, as you rightly indicated earlier, the 40 overs
So
version.
in this tournament, it will be two formats.
Two formats, the 40 over version, and the T20 version.
So there'll be two formats, 40 overs and 20 overs. So
That's correct.
Guyana will be participating in both.
Yes, we will be participating in both formats of the game.
All right. Asif, what's the preparation like for the national blind cricket team? How has that been going?
All right, so right now we have been practicing, training. We have been using the Gandhi Youth Organization for our ground practice. Of course, the weather is a bit of a challenge right now, but we have an alternative, and that is the National Gymnasium, in which we normally practice on Thursdays and Saturdays for now.
Okay, so there's an indoor option, and that's the
correct.
National Gymnasium.
That's
Excellent.
correct. And I must say, it has been very useful in terms of keeping in touch with the game, and also, for fitness practice and trying to be as fit as we can.
And what about the level of the players right now? Because blind cricket competitively has not been played in Ghana for a number of years, and that's due to COVID and financial challenges. They weren't in the regional tournament for 6 years or thereabouts. So what's the level of fitness and skills? I know players are probably honing their skills right now, but what's the level, Asif, and then you can also.
Yeah, so I think the guys, I think they're ready. Obviously, fitness, I think it's a continuum, you know. So sometimes you can get a bit unfit, obviously, if you're not keeping in touch with your game and your diet. Also, you know, being fit doesn't only comes with exercising, but also maintaining a good diet. So I think the guys, you know, everyone is trying to maintain the fitness level as much as we can. So yeah, I think we're ready for the tournament.
Yeah, and you know, Asif mentioned, you know, it is easy to get unfit, but one of the pluses that I want to add for the Guyana contingent and its you know national pool of players seem to be always playing blind cricket at home, seem to be always playing blind cricket within their sleep. Yes, I know we've been lacking some, you know, outdoor experiences over the years and not having any regional tournament, but since we've started back training for this particular tournament, the level of performance by our players across all three categories, be one, two, and three, has been incredible. But once we are able to pull through with a few sessions before traveling, I'm very optimistic, very positive that this Guyana blind cricket team traveling to Barbados has the potential for yielding great success like never before at this year's regional tournament held in the island of Barbados.
All right, so Leroy and Asif, you know, the Guyana Blind Cricket Association is an NGO, and just to highlight to the listener, the public, is that because the Guyana Blind Cricket Association is an NGO, they're required to raise the necessary funds to offset the expenses for the team to travel to Barbados, because the host nation, which is Barbados, they provide ground transport, the ground, and the officials and so forth. However, each member agency or each participating team is required to offset the airfare and the expenses for meals and accommodation for the team. How has the fundraising been coming along, Leroy?
Yeah, it's a very critical point you mentioned, Ganesh. And one of the critical things you mentioned about blind cricket, the association is a non-governmental organization, right? There's nothing much that we do or at all to make or to generate profit to that extent where we don't have to solicit the support of corporate Guyana for these regional tours that we will have from time to time, and even local events to continue developing our players' capacity here in our country. But going to Barbados require some money, of course, in excess of 2 million Ghana dollars. And that's what we're desperately searching for, because, like you rightly said, the host nation is tasked with looking after certain expenses, but the traveling teams have to take care of their airfare and a few other things to make the trip a smooth and successful one. So we're reaching out to those listening, to those viewing. We're reaching out to the corporate public, the private community, or the private sector, to reach out to us to see how much support you might be able to offer to us, to see
So
if
what?
we can.
Just jump in because
Sure.
the stats that I have, Leroy, it's about $5.2 million. That is the total. But you're saying that 2 million or thereabouts is a balance that needs to be raised?
Yes, because you know the airfare is quite expensive, though it's right to Barbados. So it's important that our airfare is taken care of.
And Asif, anything?
Yeah, also meals and accommodation is another important factor there. Of course, you know, accommodation, which will house our players, and also meals for the players. So that would round off the other
The budget.
expenses.
So
that's
it's about
probably-
$5.2 million based on the information I have here. That's the overall budget, and you guys would have raised about $3 million thereabouts that cover the airfare, uniform, and the training camp. So you still need to raise about $2 million for the meals and accommodation.
that's
Correct. That's right.
And like Leroy would have said, you know, I just want to reiterate to cooperate Guyana to support us. Of course, we know that corporate Guyana has been doing a lot, and of course, you know,
But why should they support a blind cricket team? Because everybody's into professional sports. You know, there are a lot of sports enthusiasts out there. But why is it people should support a sport for blind persons, blind and visually impaired persons?
The thing that will come to mind, Ganesh, is inclusivity. And for most companies, I know this is something that it's a trend now in society. And, not just in our society, but globally, inclusivity matters. And to be in support of us would ensure that, your company, is represented in a manner that represents inclusion. So that would be, what would come to mind for me right now.
Mhm.
And it's a good question to ask. Asif and myself and Ganesh too are all products of what blind cricket has done and what blind cricket will forever be capable of doing to persons who are either blind and visually impaired and falls into any of our three categories. When we started blind cricket, we were basically home furniture, right? We weren't doing much at home. But all of a sudden, when we were introduced to blind cricket, who didn't started to pursue secondary education again, completed that and went off to the university and achieved their degree or their masters, and the trend continues. So when you look at blind cricket in itself, it really took us out of our homes and put us on our feet. It became that vehicle to our independence, and we must not take that for granted. You understand? It is an inspiring sport. Yes, it gives you that opportunity to perform and represent Guyana. That pride, you cannot even describe it. It is an indescribable feeling as blind persons representing your country on a big stage at the end of every year and in a regional tournament. But moreover, that independence that it injects into you as a blind person, it's unbelievable. It really changes your life. And many of us are pretty much grateful for what blind cricket has done. And we want to invite others to get on board with blind cricket. And even to our sponsors, potential sponsors, you coming on board will mean a whole lot because we do have a new set of players who will be traveling with the Guyana Blind Cricket team. And just what it did 10, 12, 14, 15 years ago to us who started then will do just the same to our young lads who are on board.
Empowerment.
Right?
Yeah, so basically what you guys are saying, it's not just a competitive sport, but it can be the vehicle that empowers or helps with the empowerment of persons who are blind and visually impaired. For those persons who are not blind, for you to better understand, a blind person, if they acquire blindness or even if they're born with a visual impairment or they're profoundly blind, you have to be rehabilitated. You have to develop spatial awareness, a sense of that's a sense of direction. You have to be confident to move and run and develop your mobility skills. And blind cricket helps with those things.
Indeed.
Because when you're in a cricket field, you run, you feel the ball just as everyone else. You throw yourself on the ground to feel the ball. But what I'll do, guys, when we return, I'll allow you guys to explain, how persons will bat, how persons can bowl, how they field, because people might be wondering, how would a blind person be able to field the ball? So I'll allow you guys to explain that when we return after this short break. Do stay tuned.
As a luxury mechanic, I'm often asked, what gas should I use in my expensive vehicle? In other countries, you have regular and mid-grade gasoline known as 87, 89, and premium gasoline known as octane 93 to 95. For affordable, high-quality fuel, performance, and high mileage, visit Guy Oil today. Choose Guy Oil Super 95. Guy Oil, we are everywhere.
Welcome back. You're tuned into Disability in You. I'm Ganesh Singh. My focus on this edition is on blind cricket. With me is Leroy Phillips and Asif Khan. They're two directors of the Guyana Blind Cricket Association, and they're also national blind cricketers. They are currently preparing to participate in the West Indies Cricket Council for the Blind Regional Blind Cricket Tournament, which will be held in Barbados from May 21st to the 28th. And as customary, they require, or the association is required, to raise the necessary funds to facilitate the participation of the Guyana Blind Cricket team. And that includes the airfare, meals and accommodation, uniform, and so forth. The budget that was shared with me, it's about $5.2 million, and they would have raised so far from corporate Guyana about $30 million. So they're still required to raise about $2 million more to offset the cost for meals and accommodation for the team that will be going to Barbados. Anyone who is desirous of supporting can call Leroy. What's your number?
697-3999, 697-3999, or 640-2220.
Asif, what's your number?
And that'll be 647-8700.
All right, so 697-3999, that's Leroy, and Asif is 647-8700. You can also get in touch with the Guyana Society for the Blind. That's the headquarters of the Guyana Blind Cricket Association on 226-4496. That's 226-4496. If you're interested in supporting the National Blind Cricket team. They're still required to raise about $2 million. So I'm, calling on the general public, especially corporate Guyana, to pitch in and support the team as they strive to participate in another regional blind cricket tournament and represent their country as national blind cricketers. Leroy and Asif, a lot of the persons that might be out there, they might, think blind cricket is just a game where you have blind people running all over the place without coordination, and it's chaotic. Explain how it is done on the field, and as if you can pitch in at any point in time. Explain how organized it is and how professional it is done, so that the members of the public can have a better understanding.
I can tell you it is as professional as it comes. Lots of brain power has to be exercised on a field. Just what you see on international cricket, be it in the IPL or the CPL or whatever. You have to be thinking, you have to have your thinking cap on because you have to deal with fielding positions, strategic fielding positions. You have to know how to set your field, you have to know how to set your batting lineup, you have to know how to organize your bowling lineup according to different batsmen, be it a B3 who's striking the ball really well straight off the wicket, and who you set where. So there's a lot of thinking that goes into blind cricket, as Ganesh rightly said. And you also mentioned something called spatial awareness, Ganesh. I won't elaborate much on it, but listeners and viewers can do their own in-depth research on spatial awareness. It's very crucial because I've been asked the question before when people understand or heard that I play blind cricket. They say, Leroy, do you go and play blind cricket with your cane on the field? No. That would mean that I have not mastered spatial awareness just yet. Because I have, and most of, if not all of our players, you have to go on the field and you have to understand the distance in between you and those standing around at different positions. There are different cues you use, or verbal cues you use to communicate with the person at the nearest location or nearest position to you to understand the distance and how far you need to be or how close up to the wicket you need to be. And of course, we mentioned at the beginning of the program that blind cricket is a sport played with bowlers bowling underarm, calling on the batsmen, batter, are you ready? And upon them giving you the affirmative, you deliver the ball.
All right, so let's I know that's a lot for the members of the public to digest. You need to have your spatial awareness and so on. But there are three categories of people who play blind cricket. You have the totally blind, those who have partial sight. That means they see about 10, 15 feet in front of them.
Right.
And those who are partially blind, they can see about 20, 30 feet and a bit better. How does a totally blind person feel the ball?
Right, so those are our B1 players, right? You'll find those are who are completely blind.
Yes,
like me.
we understand, but how do they feel the ball?
Right, so there's a feeling technique we use called the long bar or the banana, right? This is where you outstretch your entire length of your body on the field. You lie on the right side or the left side, either side where the ball is coming, and you outstretch your hand, giving yourself extra time to cover the ground or extra space on the ground to cover.
So do you just throw yourself, or
You
you
have to judge.
listen?
You have to listen. The game is all about listening. You have to listen to where the ball is headed, and you have to judge it. That's when you think of your long bar and you stretch out. That outstretched position.
So
and
once
cover
you
more
get the
ground.
ball as the totally blind player, how do you return that ball to the stumps?
Good question. That's when you call on the keeper. The keeper will call on you. Remember, your keeper will be your B3 players who have really good vision on the field to see around. And once he or she calls on you, you will have to do your listening again. Just like you have to stop the ball by listening to it. Listen to the direction in which the keeper or bowler, if it's a B3, is calling, and you return within that direction. And for the most part, our players are excellent at returning balls directly at the stumps where they're being called to throw it.
So how does a B1 bowl, Asif? And B1 is totally blind bowlers. How do they bowl?
Yeah, so like
Do they bowl a lot of wides, no balls? How do they bowl?
So like Leroy would have indicated, it's on the hand, on the arm, and most of our B1 players, they have good judgment, right? It's all about judgment and awareness, as Leroy would have said.
A sense of direction, too.
So
Yeah.
yes, they are wides as would expected, but it's not to say that not because the player might be completely blind that they'll be bowling wides all the time, right? Most times our players they're very accurate.
So how do they go through that process?
Yeah, so they would usually stand by the stumps, and like you would have said, ask the batsman if they're ready. They would take about 2 steps to the left. That's if they're bowling at a regular, or if they're bowling over the wicket. It doesn't matter, and they would then take their stride, their regular bowling stride, and then deliver.
But how
the
do
ball.
they know where to bowl the ball to?
Well, they would usually call on the keeper, and they would also use their hands to touch the stumps to ensure.
That's the bowling stumps.
Yeah, that's the bowling stumps to ensure that
They're in
don't-
line,
they're
have a
in line
sense of
and
direction.
Yeah, and to be able to measure whether they can bowl or no ball or not, because they still have to ensure that they keep their foot
Within the
behind
popping
or-
crease, yeah.
So
the keeper will call upon the bowler and they will know which
Yeah,
direction.
that's correct.
And so it's all about listening.
It,
And
it
go
may
ahead.
sound technical for those who might be listening to us for the first time, but once a blind person gets involved in blind cricket, it doesn't take them more than 2 or 3 weeks for them to, learn much of what is needed. And to build that confidence is something that will come over time. But understanding how the game is played or how it's done, for the most part, is quite easy to take in within a few weeks thereabout once you get registered with the sport.
Excellent.
And once
So-
you have the
go ahead.
interest also, once you have the interest in the sport, I think it makes it easier, just like any other thing, whatever it is that
Once you have a passion for the game,
That's
yeah.
correct.
So you explain how the persons will field, how they'll bowl. How does the B1, the totally blind persons, bat now? Because, the ones with some sight, they'll be able to see the ball and they'll hit. How does the B1 bat? And Leroy, you're one of the leading B1 batters in the Caribbean. Well, as if you're B2, so you have some level of vision. How do you go about batting, Leroy?
Well, thanks for NCN having a large studio. I think our cameraman might be able to adjust to give a on-spot demonstration. So it's just a matter of our B1 going down into the kneeling position, but there are a few other positions you have to take before heading into that position. So this is your normal batting stance. I'm a right-hander, so my left foot is always front of the right foot. Upon being called to be bowled at, the B1 batter will start to go down in the lower position. You're scraping bun with the bat in the ground. So when that ball is delivered now, you're on one of your knees, your right knee, and your bat's covering the ground flat like you're going to scrape bun, and you swing upon listening to where the ball is
So you
coming.
keep the bat as close to the ground as
Close
possible.
to the ground as possible, because what can happen, it can sneak under that bat and hit your stump, or it could get you out LBW.
So you basically sweep the ball.
You sweep the ball
And it's done powerfully by those who are
very
good.
powerfully, because what you find that some very strong B1s, 2s and 3s will smash a lot of balls to the boundaries. We know with B1 scoring, one of the rules for blind cricket is that for our B1s, totally blind players like myself, our scores are not uneven. We score evenly. So we score in 2s, 4s, 6, 8. So if I hit a boundary, which is usually 4, will become 8. If I hit a 6,
So the
will
B1
become
runs,
12.
they're doubled.
So our runs are doubled. Very crucial players in a setup.
All right. So before we wrap up, Leroy, Asif, I just want you guys to remind the general public the reason you guys are here is to discuss the preparation for the National Blind Cricket team to participate in the Regional Blind Cricket Tournament, which will be held in Barbados from May 21st to the 28th. And the national team, well, the Guyana Blind Cricket Association, in order to facilitate the team's participation, they're required to raise $5.2 million,
Correct.
of which you guys would have raised about $3 million so far. And that will cover your fare, uniforms, and so forth. But you still need to raise the funds to cover meals and accommodation.
Yes, indeed. So we want to, plead with the public, the corporate public, to get in touch with us to support the remaining aspects of what is required to have us have a successful trip to Barbados for this regional tournament. Our players are yearning for competition. They're really in the mood for the game after a long time, and we're looking to raise the remaining $2 million to take care of our meals and accommodations and whatever else might be remaining to take care of to make it a successful venture for us. So we encourage you to be in touch with us, either Ganesh, myself, or Asif, to have those conversations.
Could you share your number once again, Leroy, if anyone wants to get in touch?
Definitely. 697-3999, 697-3999, or 640-2220.
Asif,
Yeah,
what's
so-
your number?
Yeah, so quickly I just want to add to the general public, of course, support the Guyana Blind Cricket team. Just think about the opportunities, and the empowerment that it will create for our players. And that number would be 647-8700. That's 647-8700.
Excellent. So Asif number is 647-8700, 647-8700. Leroy 697-7900.
697-3999.
Sorry, 697-3999 and 640-2220. That's 640-2220. You can also call the Guyana Society for the Blind on 226-4496. 226-4496. That's the headquarters of the Guyana Blind Cricket Association. Or you can also get in touch with me on 652-8975. That is 652-8975. Leroy, Asif, I want to wish you guys all the best in your fundraising efforts. And I trust that the team will be able to raise the required sum. And I also wish you guys all success in the tournament. Trust that Guyana will bring back one of the trophies, if not both. That's the conclusion of another edition of Disability in You. I want to thank you for joining me. And I just want to remind you that disability rights are human rights.